Hey guys, it's Schwasti. Hope you've all been keeping well, hope you've all had a good week and you've gotten a good few hours in on update 2.0.0, I believe it is, for BattleBit Remastered. There's quite a lot of stuff to go through in this update, so I'm going to go through the main bits that I think are most important. If you want to see everything that was in the update, I'm sure Steam or Discord will be your best friend for that one. But yeah, let's just quickly address the gameplay. Running around on a few maps today with the AK-15. Haven't really used this gun since the early levels, but it is an absolute beast in close to medium range. Medium range, those 2 to 3 round bursts are absolutely lethal for getting those stray headshots, and up close you can just hip fire this thing. I like to put a laser on it. I think the rest of the build I'm doing is the compensator, the quick A magazine, and the B25 URK if you're just looking for that. But yeah, let's pretty much get into the gist of this one. You'll have to forgive me today, guys. I'm actually not writing a script. I'm doing this one ad hoc, which is a big change. So if you notice me stammer or stutter, then that's just me. That's what I'm like. Yeah, the biggest thing in this update, I would say, is the bandage change. And if you don't know, basically before this change, you could only really bandage to stop yourself from bleeding, and you could bandage other players. That's completely fine. And if you wanted to heal back up your health, you had to basically be a medic or use a medic's box. Now you can use your additional bandages. They give you 40 HP each, which is pretty good. You know, most injuries, if you bandage them pretty quickly, you know, you might only need 1 or 2 bandages. So depending on your class, you can actually have 1 left over. I've kind of noticed people, they're a bit more reserved to like heal you now if you've gone down, because they're like, no, it's my bandage, I gotta keep it for myself in case I need it, you know. So I don't know what that's going to do for the current medic meta, but it's definitely a nice change, and I think it really balances out the medic class as a whole. So yeah, definitely a good change. I did a poll on that. I think 80% of you agreed it was a good change, so glad I'm not alone on that one. Alright, moving on to another one I find quite important. Getting healed at base. Now this is going to be mainly for helicopter crews or pilots. Before you would return to base, you're literally sitting there for like a minute in your Black Hawk, waiting for you to fully heal and repair. And the entire time, you know, you've gotten shot in the helicopter, you've bandaged, you're probably on like 20 HP. You know, 1 more shot is going to finish you. It's one thing I've been complaining about for a long time. I think they really should have added that at the beginning, but look, they did it now. They've obviously listened to the community on that one, so yeah, absolutely a win in my book on that one as well. Then I'm going to move on to the Claymore and the anti-personnel mine or vehicle mine XP. This is another win, and they've just had so many wins in this update. It's absolutely fantastic to see. I mean, the development crew just don't stop at all. But if you don't know, before when you would shoot a Claymore or an AP mine, it would blow it up, and that's completely fine. Now you actually get 100 XP for doing it, which I think is a really good change. Now, it doesn't appear to stack, at least in my experience in the last couple of days. So if there's like 2 or 3 claymores together, you'll only really get 100 XP for the first one. I think they should stack. I think if you get a chain going, then you should definitely get the XP for them all. I could be wrong on that, so if you guys know, you can correct me down in the comments below. But yeah, it's definitely nice to be getting some XP for those, and I think 100 XP is pretty fair. On to the engineer XP change. Now this one I'm quite contested about. So again, if you didn't know, a good meta in the early levels for getting some XP was to blow up abandoned enemy vehicles. So if you found an enemy Humvee or whatever lying around, you could chuck some C4 on it, you know, chuck a rocket into the side of it, and you would get 1800 XP. So they've decided to do away with that now. They've determined that if nobody is in the vehicle, then you're not going to get the XP for destroying an enemy vehicle. I think there should be like a grace period of like 5 seconds on that, because too often the enemy might jump out at the last second, and you know, you still destroyed an enemy vehicle, you should still be getting the full XP for that. So what they've done to compensate for that is they've given a bit more XP for actually destroying vehicles with enemies in them. Believe the rundown. Hang on, I have it right here. I'm not prepared, God. I'm not prepared. They said it's 2.5 times the XP from destroying vehicles, So for tanks, that's going to be 4,000 XP. Same for helicopters. APCs is 2,000. Transport vehicles is 1,000. And then if you're not an engineer, I believe you just don't get the 2.5 bonus. So it'll be like 400 XP for transport vehicles, 1,600 for a tank, etc, etc. But yeah, this is one I'm a little bit contested on. Obviously, they were getting sick of people blowing up vehicles that were abandoned for easy 1,800 XP. But yeah, look, that's just my opinion. I really like getting XP as easily as possible. And I'm helping to recycle vehicles back to the enemy's base. They should be thanking me. In terms of vehicles, what we did see in this update is a new assault boat. It's the RCB-90. And basically, it's like a reskinned LAV. This is what they've said themselves. It has the cannon on top, the 25 or 30 mil cannon, and it pretty much fires exactly like the APC, but it's a boat, so obviously it can't go on land. So to compensate, they've made it go a bit faster in water. I think I have some gameplay of that. I'll chuck it on screen at the moment if I do. And yeah, I mean, it's nice to see this one. I remember this kind of vehicle from Battlefield 4. I think they're going to be doing a lot more with water maps in the next update. They did mention on Discord about doing something about a water-based map, so maybe that's why they're trying to add a bit more variety to it, so it's literally just not jet skis and ribs. And LAVs, of course, they're going to be very, very difficult to kill if that's the case. I don't know how they're going to balance that one out. It would be really, really cool, like, if they're doing a water map, to see some kind of like torpedo boat, where you could just like fire a torpedo in the general direction, and then if you hit them, it's gonna like do critical damage. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I think that'd be kind of cool. It was something that we saw in Battlefield 1, I believe. They did an entire water map. Maybe that's where they're getting the inspiration from. But yeah, I made a post about it. I thought it was pretty cool that they just dropped the RCB-90 in without any major teasers or any bullshit like that. They're just like, nah, we finished it, here you go. And it looks really, really cool. So yeah, definitely looking forward to getting a squad together and running around as pirates. Moving on, I wanted to mention this one. Its vehicles will now destroy HESCO barriers and barbed wire on collision. So before, what would happen is you would drop down your custom fortification, and then if somebody crashed a car into it, or even a tank, it would just like flip you or just like act like a brick wall. Now you'll be able to knock them down with enough force, which I think is a pretty good change, especially when, you know, you're playing on those tighter bottleneck maps and your own teammates have been dropping down fortifications and you're just trying to get a tank down the road. So yeah, knocking them down after a while. I don't think it's going to be an anti-griefing measure. I think it's just tidying up the map as you go. So yeah, that's a win in my book. They've actually fixed the movement for a lot of attachments as well. Now, this is something I didn't know. I've never actually tested this. I just always assumed that the stats were correct. But basically, the attachments you use should give you a movement penalty. And you can see this in your loadout screen when you're putting your equipment together. It's something I generally take into consideration because I don't want to be too slow if I'm running around with an assault rifle, maybe. Apparently, that didn't actually matter. You could run around with an extended magazine and it wouldn't do shit. So they've fixed that now. I think a lot of people are going to notice that their loadouts are slower and they feel slower than before. Again, hasn't really affected me running around because I've always taken that into consideration anyway when making loadouts. But yeah, that's gonna divide a lot of people, especially when they thought they were getting away with extended mags and doing the schmovement. I said that word a lot lately, schmovement. I'm getting off track here. One that they announced early today is basically it's a trophy system. So you know when you're on Wakistan Bridge and there's just fucking grenades hailing down? It's like that scene in 300 where all the arrows block out the sun, except it's just frag grenades. So basically the trophy system, it's going to be able to take out a few of those. I think there's a limit on how many it can destroy, but it's going to be a good kind of countermeasure to see people putting those down in those high traffic areas, and yeah, it'll just stop some of that frag spam. Obviously, you're still going to be able to get kills with frags because people are going to drop them everywhere, but in those high traffic areas, you're definitely going to notice it. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. They did rework Wine Paradise. I think it's okay. I kind of like Wine Paradise as a CQB map. And they completely reworked District. I'm not a fan of the new District map at all. I think it is slow and, you know, hiding under the trees and standing still is just an easy way to get kills. There was nothing wrong with the traditional district. I think it's still in the map rotation, so I'll still get to play it from time to time. But yeah, not a huge fan of the new district. Can't exactly tell you why. I've only really played a couple of rounds of it. But yeah, just something about it doesn't feel right to me. Right, so that's all of the updates out of the way. Pretty good update overall in my head. I want to bring your guys' attention as well to a bit of a event going on this Saturday, actually, if you guys are interested. Big Bodster, a good friend of the channel, he's hosting a Squid Game. And basically the idea is we're going to try and get in 200 players or as many as possible and do a Squid Game kind of knockout tournament. He's even putting $200 of his own money on the line for the first place. The times for that is, if you're in Australia, it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern. Europe, it's going to be 1 p.m. Central European time. And I think it's 4 a.m. Pacific time for America. So if you guys can make that, then I'll leave a link to that down in the description. Head over to his Discord and you can fill out a form there. I'll be there. I'll be moderating, making sure you all behave. Anyway, guys, yeah, that's pretty much all it. I'm starting to sweat here. I've got a duvet over my head to record these videos, and I've also got a radiator on, so I'm bleeding sweating at this stage. It's winter in Australia. Anyway, guys, I hope you all have a great week. I'll see you at the weekend. Remember to watch your house, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.